Hey, Dr. Roy with Just Desserts. If you're watching this video, you finally started to contemplate, should I pursue that PhD program? You've gotten your bachelor's degree, you've gotten your master's degree, and hopefully you've taken a little bit of time off before thinking about the doctoral program. For me, it was about 10 years between my master's and end of my master's and the start of the doctoral program. And I probably had 8 years where I didn't consider schooling at all. And then finally, I got to a point where I wanted to challenge myself again in academia. I started to look around. I went through 3 years of coursework at a doctoral program at a school in the Midwest, and then another 2.5 to 3 years writing the dissertation. So 6 years total for my PhD in organizational leadership. And I want to give you my honest take on whether it was really worth it. See, when you think about whether a PhD is really worth it, you're probably thinking, gosh, is it worth the time? The 6 years that Dr. Roy put in? Is it worth the money? And on a separate video, I can talk through the financial ramifications and aspects of different programs. Most importantly, is it worth the stress, the sacrifice, the existential crisis that seems to come with a degree? So I want to give you the most honest answer that I can based on my experience over those 6 years. And that answer is probably not what you think it is. See, the problem with answering anything, especially once you have your PhD, is there's oftentimes not a lot of absolute answers. So the real answer to is it worth it is it depends. It depends on your question, your reason for going. Let me start with what a PhD is not. It's not that guaranteed promotion, not that guaranteed salary increase, and it's not that magic credential that suddenly makes everyone start listening to you in meetings. If you're pursuing the PhD primarily because you think it's going to automatically unlock prestige, money, job security, you're going to end up disappointed. Now, let's talk about what a PhD actually is. It is a commitment to thinking deeply, often painfully deeply, about a narrow set of questions for a very long time. And when you get to writing that dissertation, you're thinking about that research question or questions for an extremely long time. A PhD is also about learning how to research, analyze, write, defend, refine ideas, all under scrutiny. It's less about having the answers and more about learning how to ask the better questions, or as we often say, the right questions. In my case, studying org leadership meant wrestling with how people lead, how systems function, how cultures shape behavior, how change happens, not just in theory, but in real organizations with real constraints. My colleagues, my cohort peers, and I, we brought those real examples, those real issues into the coursework, into our forums, into the hybrid classroom work. The school that I went to, the program, which was excellent, emphasized scholarship, application. That mattered to me. Having both scholarship and that application, being able to use some of those examples in the forums with other colleagues was really good. To get feedback from them, that mattered to me. I wasn't interested in knowledge just for knowledge's sake alone. I wanted insight I could actually use in leadership, in consulting, teaching, and definitely in practice. So coming back to the original question, was it worth it? Here's where the answer, I hope, will become clear for you. It's worth it if your why is strong enough to carry you through the hard parts. Because there will be hard parts. There will be moments question your own intelligence, moments when that imposter syndrome shows up loud and uninvited, moments when you wonder why you voluntarily signed up to write hundreds of pages that, let's be honest, only 3 people, those on your dissertation committee, are going to read very carefully. If your only motivation is external validation, that fuel does run out fast. But if your motivation is internal, curiosity, calling, contribution, those are different. For me, the value of the PhD wasn't the letters after my name, although that's pretty cool. It was how it changed the way that I think. how I became more disciplined in my reasoning, more critical of easy answers, more comfortable with ambiguity and complexity, and honestly, more patient with others, definitely with myself. Now, those skills, they show up everywhere: leadership, teaching, strategic decision making in the workplace, mentoring, and even everyday conversations. Now, let's be practical. If your goal is to teach at a college or doctoral level, conduct research, influence systems and organizations at a higher level through consulting, build credibility in leadership, then yeah, a PhD can be worth it. But if your goal is simply career advancement in a field where experience matters more than credentials, there are definitely cheaper, faster, and less exhausting paths. Take everything going on with AI as a good example. If you want to really learn AI, sure, you can learn it in college. It can be part of a degree program, but you can learn it very quickly through the numerous YouTube videos that you can watch or other LinkedIn learnings and such. So, coming back to that question again, who do you want to become? Not just what do you want to earn? A PhD is a long term identity shift. I can attest to it. It shapes how you see the problems, how you evaluate evidence, and how you engage with the world. That's incredibly valuable, and it has been for me. But it only aligns with who you are and where you're going. Remember, in the end, a PhD doesn't make you smarter than other people. Don't fall into that trap. But it does train you to think differently. And if you think that excites you, if the process itself feels meaningful, if you're stoked to meet people through the program that you probably would have not met if it weren't for the program, then yes, a PhD is absolutely worth it. And that's clarity. And in clarity, in leadership, and in life, always worth it. Thanks for listening.